Hello everybody. Yes, so today the second part of Music and Myth, and I'm talking about the Phrygian Mode, which is associated really with, it's the music of Exile. Now, if we're following the Joseph Campbell Hero's Journey myth, then this is like what's known as like the initiation phase. I'll just talk you through that. So around sort of page 97ish here, there's a whole chapter dedicated to it. That somehow we're in this other realm, this other fantasy world, but we're completely exiled. All our friends have gone. For whatever reason, we're alone. We don't know the place. It can be a scary place, it can be an intriguing place, but you've got memories of like the life which you had, you know, your old life. So basically we're in exile, and Joseph Campbell, I mean, even though this book was like written in like the 1930s, it's very poignant because, you know, like these old mythologies and cultures and things, that, you know, we live in an age of, you know, like an age of skepticism. A lot of us may be atheists, or we consider ourselves religious, but there's something missing. There's something that doesn't sort of quite embrace us as much as these. Well, it's like, you know, even though a lot of those old cultures may have been discredited scientifically, that sort of all-embracing function of a myth, it doesn't seem to have a place with us anymore. You know, that you may even be considered, you know, well, what's wrong with you if you still believe in all that nonsense, you know, that kind of thing. You know, you may feel intimidated, but, you know, of course, if we're all like part of, you know, like some culture, you know, like some lost tradition, lost community even, you know, things along those lines, then that's really what the Phrygian Mode is actually talking about. It's very well developed within flamenco music, although flamenco music isn't exclusively Phrygian Mode, but you will find a lot of these really haunting melodies and songs. And in fact, there's a tradition in Spain known as the Cante Yondo, which is what's known as deep song, where people are they will actually, you know, they're singing about like lost lives and the hardships that they've had to endure, you know, because they're living in exile. And like in the former life, they may have had a, you know, a life of luxury and riches, and now they're reduced to perhaps begging or scavenging or things like that. Or some people, you know, there's also, unfortunately, you know, that we don't have an, you know, trying to get into like a, say like, trying to get into like, you know, like a humanist point of view, where not everybody thinks of each other as being, you know, like we're all brothers and sisters, you know, we're all we're all part of a family. We're all, you know, we should be looking after each other. Unfortunately, there are aspects of our culture where certain people are looked down upon, or certain people are not considered human anyway, or ooh, I'm not talking to him, or ooh, you know, things along those lines. Or, you know, like, unfortunately, like, people have been like bullied or intimidated, or you know, certain prejudices have prevented you from moving on in life, you know, things like that. So all these ideas, they all come into play especially within the flamenco music, but the Phrygian mode especially allows you to articulate that, perhaps more than no other. I know the blues does as well, but we'll get into that in a moment. So the notes of the Phrygian mode, so it's, right. So we got E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. Now, in the flamenco tradition, instead of playing the G, you play a G sharp. I'll play it here instead. You see how haunting that is? But that's actually, now we're playing that phrase, even though we're starting on that E, that's actually sitting on the on that D pentatonic, which is sort of like, so it's kind of related to the Dorian mode, but we're taking that next step. We're moving further into the dream, into the myth. We're getting deeper into, you know, we're getting, as we're moving into this strange world, everything familiar to us is, you know, being left behind, and we're just finding all these new things, and we don't know where we are anymore. So it just kind of conveys that feeling of just helplessness, and where am I, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing, or what, you know, I don't know anybody here, you know, all those sorts of things. So by making that G a G sharp, we can actually, instead of playing it would be E minor, and then F, but I play that chord instead. So you don't, what are we doing here? So F, so we're playing like that power chord. Add that third in. Can you see that? But you don't play these two strings. But if you do play those two strings, then you get that sort of, it's quite a haunting chord. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. I mean, you know, without going into like the pentatonics for that. I mean, this one it's more effective just to play the like the Phrygian, or what's known, you know, with that sharp G, it's known as the Phrygian dominant, or the flamenco scale. There is one more thing I could show you, which is see, depending on which part of Europe you build, you know, which type of I mean, that phrase gypsy, some people find that word gypsy offensive. Some people you know, in the way of like turning that word around to actually find an identity. Depending on which part of Europe you were, the music either would have gone towards the guitar, especially in Spain, or the violin in, say, like parts of Italy and Bulgaria, and, you know, places like that. So you might find some like classical composers have been influenced by this music as well. You know, like with Vivaldi. You know. Oh, I made a misfret then. Like that. So that kind of it's because the Phrygian mode is so dark as a tonality. You find that it's got that anger in it as well. And then of course, like, you know, like the more we start analysing it, the more you realise, you know, that pathos and anger are kind of linked. You know, I mean, I've actually heard that phrase. You know, depression is a form of anger where you just can't be bothered. You know, you can look at it like that. But the more we actually start getting into it, you know, that what music starts teaching us in that sense is how to manage, like, you know, strong feelings. You know, that we're learning to respond to those feelings rather than to act upon them. You know, that, like, say we are depressed, you know, or we are frustrated, or we are angry about something. Now, rather than you know, like if you're depressed, rather than just wallowing in it, music actually gives us a way of, like, sort of channeling that and using it creatively. And if you're angry, you can't really go around thumping people, you know, unless you're a boxer or something, or like, you know. But generally, you know, it's not the done thing. So instead, you know, like, music teaches us how to handle those strong feelings. And this is another power of the theatre as well. You know, that, like, when you're, so as a performer, if you're actually moving your audience, then you know you've got it. Likewise, if you're being moved by a piece of music, then we can actually start to understand, well, why is that passage, why is that phrase so emotive? You know, why are people so upset by that? You know. And then, of course, the other thing about the flamenco tradition, I mean, I should really do another video on this, perhaps later in the series. I don't know, but because this is the music of exile, you'll find that there'll be whole communities of people who feel the same. So so it's a great way of bringing people together, because you'll find that, you know, these problems are shared problems. And then, of course, the more people join that community, then the more that founds a new tradition. And the excellent thing about the flamenco is it's this overlap of different cultures, whether you've got, like, the Moors, which is like an Islamic influence, the Indians, you know, like the Hindu influence, perhaps even the Sikh influence. I'm not sure. I don't know that much about Sikhism, but I mean, if you want to tell me about that, I'd love to hear it. Later the Catholic influence, and of course like the pre-Christian, like the Greek, the Greek theatrical tradition, and several other things as well. So you get this sort of big overlap of like different beliefs and cultures, and then you'll find at the core of that there'll be some common thread, which is then brought out by the performer, by the not just the musician, but like the singer, and then the actual group performing. And sometimes, like with if you have a dancer there as well, then you're kind of acting out scenes of certain stories within that tradition. So I've left you with quite a lot to think about today, but I'm going to leave it there. So if you like this video, please comment below. Please leave any questions, and I'll see you very soon. Thanks for watching.